you ready?
Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
Welcome to the PP1 Podcast.
That was easy.
What the fuck?
You have one of these?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them, but
do you own one?
yeah, I do remember. No, I don't own one.
That's too
That would
bad.
be maybe I'm missing out. I do remember when that was like a funny thing, though.
It's still funny. You laughed. That means it's still funny.
Sorry, I remember when it was a thing.
Okay. Because it's still funny. You can't lie. Can't lie.
Hey! I noticed you got the old Tim Hortons-ish logo up.
I did that for the podcast preview kind of thing. Just something different. It might screw people over and realize that they're like, oh, what's this show? It looks new. Maybe it's about coffee. Maybe it's about donuts. It's not about coffee or donuts. Sorry. What it is the PP1 Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network in concert with DraftKings promo code THPN. There's a new ad read this week. Apparently there was one last week. So I'm going to read the new one this week instead of the old one last week. It's all good. It's all good. Canucks are wheeling. That wagon is wheeling after a big 4-1 win against the Detroit Red Wings. And they did what you're supposed to do when somebody scores a big goal or does something. You just abuse them for the next game and bury them the proper way instead of,
I'll say
taking a slap shot and then, cross-checking a dude in the head. Not a big Teddy's Pod studio looks fantastic. Simple and effective.
So that was the Don Taylor Detroit wearing the simple but effective red and white trim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that mine is also simple and effective. It's a couch. I'm in the den today because the girls have a pro day tomorrow, so they're watching a movie downstairs. So I opted for the den, which has better Wi-Fi. So that's what I'm doing. Before we get into like all the show, normally we don't like to record after a game because it's late. So we're going to try to keep this respectable tonight. But a lot of things have gone on. But first and foremost, thank you. Appreciate that.
Me?
No, it says Ryan's den looked nice. Now, I don't know if we're talking about the pucks on net, Ryan, or it's very, very dicey. I don't know.
Oh, I get it now.
It could go either way. It could go either way. I like that.
Ryan, yes, your den looks nice. You need to correct what is that? Australia?
It is Australia. I'm going to leave because it's a lot of work to take it out of the frame and stuff. It's not me. That's Christine's thing. She did all the artwork stuff. The world one over here looks fine. That one's intact. Still don't really know why we have multiple maps of the world, but anyway, that's a whole other thing. Tonight's game really felt like
who runs the pucks on that Twitter account?
It's fine. Let's be honest.
Is it Shap? Yeah.
Yeah, it's come on. Like you even have to ask. That guy's got it dialed in. He knows how to hit the pulse of the nation. He's got it figured out.
The most efficient pucks on netter.
Yeah, he is. They're still working on the Twitter thing. I really hope that works out for them one day where they actually get their actual Twitter handle. But you never know. I mean,
yeah,
crazier things have happened. I mean, geez, the Canucks somehow are in first place in the NHL by 6 points. Bizarre. Tonight's game felt like a playoff game. Did you see the whole thing?
Yeah, I don't think it felt like a playoff game. It felt like a one-side beating. No, I think it was like it was full of annoyance and stuff like that, and it was like scrappy. I don't know if I was getting the playoff vibes from it. I was getting the feel-good vibes from the arena. Like
all vibes tonight.
DJ was on point tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like DJ's not always on point. DJ was on point tonight. He was like all the sing-along songs were on there. Like people were just feeling good.
Totally,
it was a whole mood. Yeah, it was fun for sure.
You know who Chicago on Sunday, their DJ in the third period. I mean, it's not like they have different DJs, but the DJ in the third period,
the third period version of the DJ.
Like, you're up. Absolute bangers of songs for the entire third period. I'm sitting there. I'm like, maybe send me the mixtape after this.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but like,
it was good.
Chicago's got their shit figured out. It's
they
like
do.
a super loud arena that like normally rock heavy. Like
it was good, man.
They know what they're doing.
Every song, I'm just like, and then just when you think you're like, okay, like they've maxed out, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Did you just break out Machine Head?
Did Bush just get played? Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. But I mean, this game kind of had a little bit of everything. It had the gritty, apparently, which was, and Zadorov was
grittying, yeah.
Yeah,
he's what it is. It's doing the gritty, not grittying.
I don't know. I don't do that dance move, so I don't really care. As you can see from my name, I'm not a fan of the gritty. I'm a fan of gritty, because if you're not, there's something wrong with you. But I mean, that game had everything, and of course, we finally got the opportunity we were waiting for. It didn't happen.
It almost had everything.
It almost had a goalie goal tonight too. And what an absolute laser beam of a wrister! Like, it's unfortunate someone was in the way, because he had that thing dialed in. Demko was, well, he gets his 30th win in 40 games. He beat Roberto by 8 games.
He's that's sole possession now of 4th place all time. Is that right?
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Yeah. Who's number 3? Do we know? Is it Kluche?
It probably is Kluche.
I feel like I should look. You talk.
I mean, Kluche was big on the regular season stats, not so much in the playoffs, for all the reasons we all remember. Beach balls, mostly beach balls. But yeah, that game, it had a lot of stuff. It was super fun. I think even if you weren't at the game, if you were at the game, you got a skate jersey win again. You got, the warm-up jerseys, which I don't even know if they wore, unfortunately. But
what was the warm-up this time around?
So it was it was Black Excellence. So you'll be able to see they've got like hoodies and stuff. They're killer. Like, that whole setup is just awesome. And once again, it's the skate logo. Hint, hint, hint. It just has to be. I'm telling you, man, that's their playoff jersey. It has to be.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
It has to be.
Every once in a while, Ryan is right.
Yeah. I could just keep using. I could just make that a button so you don't have to say it every time.
No. So number 3 on the list. Can you guess? It's not. Okay. It's not Kluche. Past Kluche, so he's now at 110.
Okay, for
or this, maybe it's not updated. It could be at 111. So he's 2 ahead of Kluche at 109. You're really similar. Kluche 208 games. Thatcher Demko 207 games.
Mm-hmm.
So efficiency is somehow better.
Captain Kirk.
Kirk is up there, number 2. That one's fairly obvious. 211 wins. Alex Auld also up there, I believe.
Corey Schneider.
11 with 80 wins. Corey Schneider, 98 wins at number 9.
Think about that for a second. Like,
not 98 wins, 98 games. So 39 wins, Alex Auld. Corey Schneider, 55 wins.
Okay, I was going to say 98 wins. That would be interesting.
Yeah, 50. So number 9. You want to keep going, or are you?
Okay, so sorry, I'm 9th place now, I'm guessing.
So yeah, you got Alex Auld at 11. Glenn Hanlon was number 10. Corey Schneider number 9, 55 wins.
Frank Caprice.
I'm going way down here, and I'm not seeing Frank Caprice. Oh, Frank Caprice 17th, 31 wins.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Demko needs one more to equal Frank Caprice all time.
Yeah, Demko 110 wins. So do you need hints? Troy Gamble's not in there. No.
Okay, Whitmore.
You're like going further down the list.
Okay.
We're like established goalies. We're talking like.
Okay, I'm kidding around.
So you're just naming goalies like
Ryan Miller,
Lubomir Wisnowski.
Right.
He didn't even play goal. Ryan Miller's not. That's number 8. Number 8, 64 wins in 150 games.
Okay. So I said Alex Auld. Said Corey Schneider.
Yeah.
How long was Poff in here?
Not long enough to
make the list.
Correct the top 10. He's number 19, 26 wins.
Mika Norinen.
Yeah, Mika Norinen. Martin Brochu.
Kevin Weeks.
And silly goalies, yeah.
Kevin Weeks, goalie of the future.
Not Kevin Weeks.
Chris Levesque.
Not Steve Weeks either.
Oh, that's right. With a no E.
French goalie with a miraculous playoff run.
I already said Roberto Luongo.
Yeah, not that one.
Oh, okay. French goalie with miraculous playoff run. Oh, I hate it when you do this because now it's like
I'm exposing you. Yeah,
it's right there. French goalie with a playoff run. Oh, the King.
Mm-hmm.
How did I miss that? How did I miss that?
He's not far off, so he needs only 16 more wins to catch him. Maybe 15 after tonight.
Interesting. How did I miss King Richard? Jeez, that should be like...
It's the one that people don't think of.
Yeah, he did okay.
Yeah, 377 games, 126 wins.
Yeah.
8 years with Vancouver. It's pretty good. Number 3 all time on the list. So
it's
all
nice.
three of those goalies. What do all 3 of those goalies have in common?
They've all been to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, there you go.
It is comforting to know that these numbers are shrinking for these wins. It's like we found better guys.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's nuts in the sense that like if you look at other teams' goaltending histories, like you get some monster numbers up there.
Yeah.
Vancouver doesn't necessarily have that, but it's been known as like a bit of a goalie factory over the last like more than a decade, I would say.
Yeah, I think they've done pretty well. They've had their moments too, but even like the Ryan Miller thing, it's just a shame we had to crap on that because it wasn't necessarily warranted. And once he found his groove, it was too late.
Yeah, good goalie. 150 starts, 65 wins, 68 losses. That was not a very good team that he was playing on at the time. So
no, but he made it fun.
Yeah,
he made it fun. So anyway, fun game tonight. Lots of cool things going on. And it's just another dub. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about. I feel like we can get a few things. I'm just trying to figure out, like, I want to get as much as we can in a short amount of time. First of all, Super Bowl. I also realized in the group chat, me not betting on Nicole Hardman when I absolutely should have.
You should have done that.
It actually only would have made me $250, not $25,000. Apparently, I don't know how betting works. So he was plus 1,100 to score an anytime TD. And I called it after his 20-yard catch in the second, texting Steve. And sure enough, so this is funny. This is an interesting story. So wife and daughter in Quebec for nationals for long track speed skating. So in there, it went
great.
It went good. Didn't go great.
Good.
But
it's an experience, right?
It wasn't exactly, and that's what we're trying to say. So Super Bowl's on. We're FaceTiming with them, and it's obviously 3 hours ahead, so they're getting tired. So we're FaceTiming during overtime, and the cable goes out at our house. Of course it does. So now I'm watching overtime of the Super Bowl via FaceTime on their TV in the hotel room, which is super fun. It's so much fun. That's how you want to experience the Super Bowl. Someone else's TV on a small phone. Great. So finally we were like, okay, did it actually turn off or did the cable go off? So sometimes like when the cable goes out here, like the TV just goes kind of black, right? It doesn't come up with like your source output or whatever. So I turn it back on, which is great. We got the game on. The downside is it's 40 seconds ahead on the phone. So do you
really?
Yeah. It was like enough where it was like so do you watch on your 60-inch screen or 55, whatever we got, I don't even know. Or do you that's 40 seconds behind, or do you watch what's actually going on knowing that that's what you really need to be watching? So I opted to watch on the phone and saw the Chiefs win via iPhone, via FaceTime. So congratulations. So yeah, I would have been nice to make that bet because it would have paid off. And I'm probably, well, I've been saying it since week 12. As soon as they traded Hardman back to the Chiefs, I said, you watch. He'll be a big deal in the playoffs. And he kind of faded, but he's like Mr. Johnny Automatic. When it push came to shove, he had 2 massive catches, and his second of those 2 massive catches got him another ring.
He was vitally important to that Super Bowl run, right? I mean, that was like not that great of a game. I mean, we were at a party, so we were having a great time, but like the back half of the game was fun. It was like, it was a coaching matchup, right? And that's, that's where Andy Reid does his thing. That's where Mahomes becomes a factor. And then you get hit with a guy like Nicole Hardman, and that's it. It was a chess match all the way down the road, right? So that's a tough one to win when you're going up against a coach like that. So yeah, well deserved.
Absolutely.
Like a little bit anticlimactic in the sense that it was the Chiefs again and all that stuff. But yeah, it was fun. Got my, my minute and a half worth of Taylor, and it made it a night. The girls all wore their Taylor Swift gear to the bar that night. It was pretty hilarious. People hated it, but it was great. Yeah, had a good time.
Excellent. So we did a draft last week. I wanted to be there, but that's okay. I'm not bitter. It just sounds like I'm bitter, but I'm not bitter. I'm glad you guys did you win anything?
Yeah. We won. I won an espresso.
Nice.
And $100 bar tab and a Mahomes jersey.
You won a bar
which
tab.
I owe Steve some of that bar tab money, so I'm gonna have to give him $50 of it or something like that.
That's pretty funny if you think about it, knowing what we know.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's rich.
So there might be a $50 gift certificate headed Steve's way because he helped me win that thing. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So
we'll hook our boy up.
There you go. I mean, he's earned it. I hope you guys had a good time. It's always a good time going out there, and
we had a great time. Yeah.
Next year, hopefully,
be there one year.
Yeah. Too bad sports got in the way this year, so it was fine. We were making Taylor Swift bracelets for the entire game, so it's fine. Basically the same thing. And the bathroom lineup, nothing.
What was your bracelet? The man.
Mine said Jason Kelsey's brother's team on it. It was a really long one.
Great, that's good. Okay, sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying?
I don't remember. Oh yeah, so we did the hockey draft last week, the historical hockey draft.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and it was a lot of fun. I brought it up at work. Feels like we also left a few players on the board that we didn't even name, and one of them is totally escaping me for some reason. But it was fun. So I ran it through ChatGPT that night, and because I needed to know who was going to win this. Well, based on our teams, unfortunately for me, I did lose. Mine was a very now team, a very win a game or two. That's about it. Your team was more of an endurance type team, and is basically how they said it. I ran it through a bunch of things like who would win, and it basically said that you kind of had the smarter, more strategical team. So eventually you'd win. Then I said, well, who'd win in a 7-game series? It said I took the first 2 games. Feels like watching the Canucks versus the Red Wings in 2002. I'm like, all right, well, we got enough to get us going. And then, just couldn't hold on to it and expose ourselves when we were done. So found out 2 ways that I was basically going to lose. I'm like, okay, well, which team has more penalty minutes? So I just kept going based on the conclusion above. And so I said, which team would have more penalty minutes? Well, obviously my team won at that point. So that was the only thing I actually got to win. And I just kept throwing scenarios at it. And finally, after all the things, because you just kept winning like every scenario for your team, I finally said, if both teams were to combine forces, could they beat the Avengers? And the answer was resounding no, because the Avengers.
Just ChatGPT just gives you like a no.
They basically just said it's no. So it was fun. It was pretty neat. I would love to do that again sometime with something else, maybe like musicians or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We can make that a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I think the big factor was the fact that I had Marty McFly, right?
And I changed it because you had Michael J. Fox originally, and then I changed the wording to Marty McFly, and they actually gave a little bit of a different answer, just saying that it was, it says, even though they are both the same person, one is a character and one is, a real life human, here's the reasons why this changes a little bit. So you still won. That's all that matters to you. So it was good. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. This is something that happened last weekend, and I've been thinking about it. Apparently, do the Boston Bruins live rent-free in your head still after all these years? Because I mean, for whatever reason, I think they still live rent-free in a lot of people's heads. And
no,
in this housing market,
no. Why would you even accuse? No,
in this housing market, it's not fair. They're living rent-free when the prices are sky high. Like we can't help.
They're just like
They just are.
They just have our number. Like I know there's been wins in between. Like I know we talk about the fact, like, game 8, like all the good stuff, right? I mean, there's been wins, but like
there was an 8-5 a couple years ago.
It's just the difference between when Boston wins versus when Vancouver wins those games. Vancouver wins those games. It's like, yeah,
good for you.
Yeah, we won it. See that? It's a score up there. That's our win.
Yeah.
When Boston wins a game, it feels like you got taken out behind the tool shed and beaten
with the tools.
It feels like you were standing there at school talking to a girl and get pantsed by the bully from behind. Like, it's bad. Like, these guys, when they win games, they bully the Canucks, right? I mean, it was kind of like Chicago for like a period of time before we ran into that Boston team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a badass team, and when that badass team does badass things, like, I don't know, like they kind of pick up the villain role a little bit, right? And you have the hero, and the hero's fun, right? And then, like, aren't you kind of like pulling for Joker a little bit? Like, did he not like make the whole original Batman movie? It was Joker, right?
Yeah.
Even if they were evenly matched, and that's kind of like, that's Boston might be our Joker, right? Like,
the worst thing is too, like, at least with Chicago, and why the Slay the Dragon came up. At least with Chicago, they were in our conference. That was like a beatable. That was an eventual beatable team, right?
And the Slay
story.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then the Slay happened, and that was it, right? That was like, we beat them at the peak of their powers, and then it was slowly ticking downhill after that point, right? Then it was like, now they're looking at catching us, but that's not how it is for Boston. Boston stayed good.
Yeah.
Right. But we dipped and came back up, but there's still like this little bit of a hatred there. I mean, that was their last cup. We were their last opponent.
It's like beating one of the Koopas, like in Mario 3 or like Super Mario World or something. Like you beat one of the Koopas and you're like, man, this one, for whatever reason, maybe you're a little kid and you're like, that one was so hard. And you finally beat them all. And then you get to Bowser and you're like, crap.
Yeah.
He's so hard. Or Shredder. Maybe I should bring up Shredder. You can beat Bebop and Rocksteady. You get to Shredder, you're like, we're not beating Shredder.
Like when they hypnotized Shredder and he was just cool about it, right?
Until
somebody said Shredder, and then he changed back into like shithead Shredder.
Like,
he's the boy Grant in the chat there. Seems so nice, but somehow I hate Jeremy Swayman for giving out hugs to teammates. Like, even that fell incorrectly, right? Because he's like doing the big the hug thing, like he's gonna give Thatcher a hug, and Thatcher, like, just not paying attention, walks right by it. Who looks like the asshole?
I know.
It's Demko, right? Completely by accident, right?
I mean, it just happened to be Swayman.
Yeah, and so now we're on the other end of this like mini goalie controversy between a Boston goaltender and a Canuck goaltender versus like two of the nicest guys in the game.
Yeah.
And it's not Tim Thomas and it's not Roberto Luongo, but like, I mean, even Tim Thomas was the Joker to the Batman, right? Like,
I didn't know. The
it
pumping
just always
tires.
worked
Now
that way.
like,
yeah.
Or why are we the bad guy? Like,
why did we say that? Why did we say that? But yeah, good point. Good point, Grant.
It's like I said, it just lives. It's one of those things. Like I said, it's the end guy. It's the end villain. And the only time you can play the end villain is at the end of the game. You can't play him in the middle. You can't play him in the playoffs unless it's the very end. You know how hard it is to get to the very end with no saves?
Yeah.
You beat the whole game at once. You can't just do it. You can't just go and save it and then, okay, it's not an RPG. I mean, it kind of is an RPG where you actually have saves. But if you lose, you got to go all the way back and you got to fight those couple like semi-villains to get to the end. And then you get to, this is Final Fantasy reference, if anybody knows. You know, you beat the few and then you get to Sephiroth. Well, Sephiroth's like a 45.
Wow. Final Fantasy 3 reference.
That's a 7. Yeah. That's a 7. That's like
Sephiroth?
a 45-minute battle.
Oh, no, I'm thinking Kafka would be 3.
Yeah. That's like a 45-minute battle, man. You lose that, you're like, great. Well, I'm going to do it tomorrow because I don't have time to do this again.
Tomorrow? Why? Were you working back then?
No, at that point, I'd probably been playing for hours. Like, I should probably eat or something. So, you know what I mean? Like, they're just there. So, I don't know. Like, if this is for real, this year, it's going to be Boston. Unfortunately, like, it just is going to be them.
I mean, you just never know.
It's going to be the worst.
You just never know with these teams, man. Like, Boston did some loading up last year and they were out right away.
That's true. So I'm also going to say something else. And I know you're going to hate me for this and I could care less.
Oh, I wanted to talk about something, but yes, I just remembered, so I'll get there. I will remember it now. I just had to tell myself.
Okay, I'm just going to throw this out quickly because I want you to say your thing.
Take your time, yeah.
This feels like the team. I'm sorry.
This version of the Canucks feels like the team?
Whatever was tonight, and I know it wasn't the most meaningful game, but it sure felt meaningful. It sure felt like this was what it's going to feel like if things are going well. Like they looked fast. They looked confident. Crisp passes. I'm still out to lunch if that PD fake was actually meant to happen for Lindholm's second goal. I think he screwed that up.
There's no way. He mishandled the puck and they still.
I thought so too.
Crazy. There's more admiration for the fact that he mishandled it and they still made it work.
It just looked, and they've had some really like stinkers lately, and yet they're still winning. Like, oh yeah, the Canucks are awful. Yeah, they're 8-2-1 in the last 11.
Yeah, haven't exactly played super well on that road trip and still came out with a winning record. I mean, when have we got to say that in the last 8 years?
This team I haven't wanted to believe it, and I'm finally looking like I'm excited for games right now, and I'm excited the way they've been playing. Even in the close ones, you feel like everything means something right now. It's not just a game. And just looking at the end, looking at the standings before we came on here tonight, like there's 6 points up on 2 teams. Boston, I think, did I see Florida as well? Like this is getting insane. And I know it's silly season, but yeah, it's silly season. Like this shouldn't be happening, and it is. So we need to embrace this at some point. And I'm ready.
It is absolutely crucial that we win the division too, right? Like, it's absolutely crucial that we finish first in the West. Like we cannot be involved in an early game versus like an Edmonton
no way.
Like no fucking way. Like I don't even want to touch that shit. Like that's the kind of thing where a rager of a team can pick apart a number 1 seed. Like I want no part of that.
And
no, thank you.
This team, especially this Cinderella team. Like, oh, you guys want to be the head honchos this year? You guys want to be at the head of the table? All right, we're gonna give you the heater Edmonton Oilers. Good luck.
Yeah, who wants to get Connor McDavid? Right?
I don't. No, I don't want Leon Draisaitl either.
No, God no.
Anyway, you had a thing and you're ready to talk. Go for it.
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to just touch on the third line, right? I mean, everybody's talking about the third line. They posted the stat today. Last 30 games, all 3 guys have 20 points, right? So you got Dak, you got Bluger, you got Connor. They're all doing their thing. I think it's like...
Can we call him Gargar? Can we call him Gargar Binks?
Sure, Gargar.
Gargar Binks, yeah.
Yeah. He's got 10 and 10. I think Bluger was 16 assists. I think you had Garland was 9 and 11 or something. Somehow 60 points generated from that line in the last 30 games. It's crazy. There's still weird things going on with trying to figure out exactly where Elias is going to fit. If he's going to play with PDs, we're going to move him center. Is he a wing? Hoaglander's getting some time up on the top line right now. Like who is filling that spot? And I think, Grant makes a good point. He's in the chat here talking about Mikhayev, but there was so much talk about the fact, how do we find a spot for Mikhayev? How do we figure out where we're going to play a guy in the top 6? And the only line we can't touch is this third line, right? That's kind of been the narrative this year, right? The third line's playing so good, we can't touch the third line.
It used to be the 4th, now it's the 3rd. We're slowly moving up.
And I think I was listening to Drance talk about today about the fact that PD had played 109 minutes or something like that, and you had Teddy Bluger had played seconds less than him.
Wow.
Over the last little while. So I'll ask this question, right? Nobody wants to break this lineup because although we do have some spots that we're trying to figure out in the top 6, but nobody wants to touch the third line.
Yeah.
Do you remember when there was this really good third line in Vancouver that featured Alex Burrows and Ryan Kessler? And it was the one line that was going and nobody wanted to break it up. And the Twins hadn't really figured it out. And we didn't have a solid lineup for them. And, we didn't have this bona fide number 2 center yet. And we didn't know how to, and what did they do? They decided that they were going to break up what they had in a really good thing. And they moved Burr up to the Twins line. and Kessler into that second spot, and like nobody looked back. It was like we had this amazing thing and then somehow added these 2 more pieces and it unlocked everything. Like truly did. So do you think?
I do remember that. I like. Good point. That's a really good point, actually.
So nobody wants to break this lineup. I get it. You can't really mess with a good thing. You don't want to mess with a good thing. So is there a scenario in your head where you could move a player off this line and fit him into the top 6 somewhere and it probably gets better, or it becomes stabilized or looks more consistent?
I think there's a few things, and it involves potentially a trade, and it doesn't. There's kind of 2 versions of this. One would be you unite the lotto line and you commit to that. That's part of this. And then, I do think you can move. It's probably like, is it Garland maybe, or Suter? Or no, Suter's up there already. Sorry. It's probably, I would guess, Connor Garland, just based on how they likely would try to throw up like a second scoring line. And then does that mean that you've got now a position available? And I'm not saying as a full-time guy, and this is where maybe the trade kind of comes in, and we're going to definitely get into this, but all of a sudden, unless he just looks out of shape, it's inevitable Phil Kessel's going to be a Vancouver Canuck. So does that play into it? Like, that's
maybe, and we got to talk about that too.
And we will, yeah. So I'm just looking, and Mikhayev, Grant makes up a great point. Like, Mikhayev showed a pretty good push tonight.
Did, yeah.
But he's been a passenger, man, for a lot longer than he should have been this season. And when you start getting into, I think I tweeted about this a few days ago, like, do we have to fix? And we're all using we all know what I'm talking about.
Sure, yeah.
Do we have to fix every little thing to have this perfect unit, this perfect juggernaut to go through? And I don't think they do, but if they're realizing, and especially after they made the couple trades that they've made already, if you see something that isn't working, I mean, Mikhayev, when he came in, we understood what he was bringing to this team. But in an absolutely bizarre year when everything is going right, and he's kind of one of the only guys right now, and for the last while, that really hasn't been a difference maker. And you're seeing that third line go crazy. You're seeing the fourth line look pretty good too. But Mikhayev just hasn't really factored in. Now, all of a sudden, you're right. You bring up a guy, and maybe that allows to flex out that 3rd/4th line and find out what else you have so you can solidify your top 2. I think that's maybe the route they have to go. And again, I don't know if Phil Kessel's the answer, but he's probably not going to hurt this team. But you can also find out that you need to add something else.
Well, a couple of good points there, Ed. I mean, you mentioned the fact that Suter's playing up on this line now, and Mikhayev is penciled in the 3 spot. Part of that has to do obviously with Dak's injury, right? Like,
yes,
the Joshua injury, they talked about it in intermission. This is an important player now on this roster, and having Joshua out of the lineup it's a bad look, right? So what about Dakota Joshua riding shotgun alongside Miller and Besser?
Yeah, that's your Alex Burrows move, basically.
Like, do we hate the guy? Like, do we hate a guy that could lead the league in hits? Shows that he has like soft mitts in close, smart, heady player. He's been making responsible defensive plays all year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's your forechecking, heat-seeking scud missile,
and he's riding shotgun with Miller, who also is a piss missile.
It's not like Burrows was the fastest skater ever, right? I mean, he's had good anticipation. He knew what lines to take. But, like, I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, it's pretty hard to argue with I'm just trying to, like, make a separate argument about the fact that maybe there is a positive to breaking up this line to sort of help the top 6 versus we need to find a player to play in the top 6. That might be all for naught now. That looks like, Höglander has finally earned his rope a little bit now.
And I totally forgot about this, but a guy that we haven't talked about yet, Giuseppe is back.
He is.
He's a guy that I'm sure a few people have forgot about. I've been waiting to see him come back, but now he's a guy that he was going before he got hurt.
He'd slowed down a little bit, but yeah, I mean,
but he was still factoring in. He wasn't a burner the entire season, but he definitely had his hot streak, and I think he's another guy that just depth where you want it.
Yeah, depth, right? Like perfect utility player.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know. Again, you've got a PDG, and maybe he's a guy that you move as like, not that you want to, but maybe to get that one more piece that you believe you need. Like, I'm still on it, man. I'm sorry, but I think Tyler Toffoli should be a Vancouver Canuck for this run. And I've been looking at him, and I've been looking at actually Curtis Lazar. Like, I've been looking at his PK numbers and what he's been bringing as his expected goals for percentage. Like, he's right up there too, man. Like, there's some guys Lazar you can get on the cheap. At the same time, Toffoli, he's a UFA after the season anyway. Like, I think there's fits there, and I'm going to hold on to this whole thing for New Jersey, because I think if they just aren't close enough to make a run, their smart move, this is me saying it, but their smart move would be to move some pieces and get something in return for it. If you don't believe that you've got a team that could go all the way, unless they think they're like, screw it, as long as we get in, we've got a shot. And maybe they do.
Maybe they do, because that team could be just downright dangerous. Imagine if that team acquires a quality goaltender.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the other thing. Markstrom's the big talk right now, and they said that deal's not off the table yet.
I mean, and I know trading for a goaltender can really be hit or miss, right? Because a goaltender is designed to play within a system, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And if the system doesn't fit the goalie,
it could just be all for naught.
Then it becomes a Ryan Miller in St. Louis thing, right? Like,
that
was like, I don't remember the last big goaltender trade, and I'm sure that there has been, right? And that's probably why guys. Yeah, that's what's his face from the Finnish guy with the crazy hair from, like, I think it was Columbus or something like that.
Oh,
Korpisalo, I think.
With the K.
Yeah. So, like, it's weird, right? We're in a weird spot. I don't know what Jersey's going to do. Does Vancouver go out and apply another player? We're going to talk about Phil Kessel here pretty quickly, right? But do we spend a roster spot on a guy like Phil Kessel, or do you use a roster spot for possibly a more well-rounded player? I mean, we know that Phil, regardless of what his skating and conditioning is like, is still going to be a one-shot scorer. But looking past that, what kind of player does this roster, this offense, or this defense actually need for a lengthy playoff run?
I've already told you.
I don't know if it's Phil Kessel, but the Toffoli thing, yeah, there's lots there.
To me, it seems like he's my key. Like, I look at everything that this team has. Grant made a great point about Joshua and being a product of Talkett, or does he have the natural skill to actually keep him on a top line?
Good question.
It's a great question. I look at a couple things. Phil Kessel doesn't have to be an everyday player. He's one of those guys that you put him in and you're like, listen, man, this is what we need out of you. You know that you're not going to be an everyday guy. You just need to own it when we put you in the lineup. And I'm sure he'd be willing to do that. Like I said, he's cut 3 cups in the last little while. Not too shabby. But as far as a difference maker, man, that to me, it just seems like the easiest thing to do. And they've got the capital to make it happen. And geez, with that team, like they would, I'm stating the obvious, but they would be so lethal with a guy like Tyler Toffoli back in there. A team that actually has dangerous options everywhere. And he knows that system. He knows the guys. He comes in. You don't have to like acclimate him to this team. He knows exactly what he's getting into. And it's a feel-good atmosphere again. It's not the bubble. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I don't have another guy right now because I'm so fixed on this New Jersey thing not working out. And like I don't know where else to look. I know like there's been scouts at a few games lately. It was in Nashville or something yesterday. I don't even know, but like the Canucks are making one more move.
I feel like it's going to be a depth guy that doesn't currently upset the bottom 6.
Yeah.
But can fill in a pinch.
Mm-hmm.
To Grant's point, I feel like Mikhayev showed a bit of push tonight. Oh no, not that one. Sorry, Joshua, product to Talkett, or does he have that natural skill? So, like, I believe it's a bit of both, right? I think that he's unable to show off that natural skill without being put in a position to do that level of forechecking and play that role. So I think that allows him to get in close and have the puck sometimes be the trailer. He's definitely more of a hands guy in close than a shooter. Because you're not seeing him blow goalies away or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, the question being like, can he stay up there long term? I don't know. Like I don't know. But
long term, but they'd want him like, what is long term? Long term.
Well, yeah, I mean, long term would be like 30 games, I think, right? Yeah. Like that would be a long look, right? Like Mikhayev got a long look on the first line, right? So yeah, I do think he's got the hands, and I do think he has this gun. I think he's playing with an absolute ton of confidence now.
Give him 5 games.
I give him some games, and I think if you're not seeing Mikhayev in that spot or Suter's looking cold, which the good thing about all these guys is that if they're not scoring, they're helping you out defensively. Yeah, so it's never a bad thing.
Even Besser,
right?
Besser had a non-goal game again tonight, but he looked like he was in there.
Yeah, and good defensively, getting his stick in the way, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, but I see like when the game ramps up and the whistles go away and the clutching and grabbing starts happening, am I okay with seeing a guy like Puis Suter go down a slot to see a guy like Dakota Joshua step in and see what you can get out of that?
Here's the games you put him in, though. I think this is a great idea. I'm glad the conversation is going this way. I would put him like that first game against Vegas. I can't remember when they play Vegas next. But that first game against Vegas or the next game against Colorado, like put him in some previews, right? Put him in a preview role. Like, let's find out what this looks like against a team that if things go crazy, we're going to have to play. So why not give him an opportunity? Like, listen, we want to see what you can bring on that top line or one of those 2 top lines in a role where you're going to be relied upon and it's going to get messy. It's going to get gritty.
And don't you think that he's going to succeed in that role? He's not a guy that looks like he wilts under that kind of stuff, right?
I don't think so. If anything, he's going to be the distraction. Like, he's going to be able to bring the finesse side, but he's also going to bring that physical side, which means that the guys that are really good at finessing the puck are likely going to have a bit of more space. So that's an interesting experiment. And Tocchet seems pretty smart. Like, he's been pushing all the right buttons this season. After a loss, after a win, like, this team is bought in 100%. So I could see Joshua getting a little bit more look. And then, like I said, I think the Mikhayev thing, which apparently I've been spelling his name wrong in like every tweet lately.
I don't know.
There's an A in there, I swear.
Mikhayev.
Mikhayev. I don't know. I think I'm at the point now where if you're going to be making fixes, let's get these fixes over with. And the guys that have been passengers, and there haven't been many, like everybody.
I think everyone
straight, and all of a sudden he has a game. Everybody's offering him max contracts out of nowhere, which is stupid. Like, they're like, oh, 5x5, 8x8. I'm like, you guys are drunk. Like, yeah, he had a big game. Let's just hold the phone for a second on max contracts for Nikita Zadorov. I don't think we're there yet.
I mean, it is nice to have just a total asshole.
Yeah.
Playing out there. And Cole is a tough guy to play against. This is a tough D, and they can be suffocating. And that, I think, showed up in this game a little bit.
Do you think a game like tonight, if they had Carson Soucy healthy?
Oh, man.
Do you think this game would have just been like completely out of hand?
Because that guy is just another. Could you imagine having to play against a guy like Soucy and having to play like this 2024 version of Tyler Myers and throw it? Like, I can't even believe I blurted that out in a sentence. And then you have Zadorov, right? I mean, you're like Juleson. Like, what's Juleson doing right now? And then you add Cole, and it's like, holy crap! There's just the guys that aren't, humongous and have like 10-foot wingspan, are these like thick fire hydrants that will just run your ass over, right? Like,
I've hit a fire hydrant, it hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's nasty, but like, could you imagine having to play against all 3 of those like absolute wet blankets, like just like driving through mud? Like, oh my god, like
it's like quicksand.
When in the playoffs, when things just get really greasy and really bogged down, I mean, like, man, like I really can't wait to see how that thing looks. Like, it's going to be exciting.
That's why everybody needs to just slow their roll on, Zadorov, like, because he hasn't been like
he's here for what we need him for right now.
Exactly. And like you're saying, when it comes to the playoffs, it's like I bring back to that Mikkel Hardman thing. Like, okay, you may not be getting regular season max value on what you're hoping for, but when it comes to the playoffs, this is when these guys are going to do the job that you paid and traded them for.
Ian Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a piece of business.
Spider Soul. Okay, so what's a fair contract to offer him if you had to sign him today? How much is too much, Joshua? That is.
Oof.
Like, I think we talked about this.
This
Ryan.
NHL, probably. Are we saying like 2?
2 million? No.
Is that?
He's way more than 2 million.
That's what I heard. I was listening to the post game the other night, and they're thinking 2 schmil for him if you sign him today.
No, why would he sign today?
No, they're just talking like if they were talking about on the post game, 2 nights ago, that Joshua would be like a $2 million player right now.
No, I bet you he could get more than that. Like, what did Barclay Goodrow sign for?
Oh, let's not be stupid now.
Yeah, like there you go. Somebody's going to back the truck up. He's 100% right. Like we talked about it in the show with James just a little while back. Right? James Rubin was on the show.
Yeah,
he's gonna play himself out of Vancouver. This guy could get 20 goals this year. He's going to play himself out of Vancouver because he is going to be a valuable player for what teams want in this league down the road, right? I mean, he's like, players like this get by scoring 30 or more points because of all those other things that they do. And people talk about the little things, but like not the other things, but the other things players can't do. Players that don't have that size, because if they're that size, they don't have that skating ability. And if they have that skating ability, they're not that physical. See Mikhayev. Like, there's nothing wrong with Mikhayev. He's fine. But he's a different player. He doesn't do it for a team physically that you can ask other players to do that same role. And he is going to be in high demand next year. And he's going to make bank. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all if somebody paid him like $3.5 million.
Oh, of course.
And he gets like a 4 or a 5 year deal. Like probably not a 5 year, probably like a 4 year deal.
On the open market, he'd get 3.
Yeah. If the Canucks could re-sign him right now and they were like, hey, can we do, and this isn't what it's worth. I mean, this is how he has to be signed. If they could go and re-sign him for like 1.7 or something like that and get a couple of years out of him, then that would be great. The thing is like, I don't even know if they can afford 1.7 to be like completely
get the
honest.
Old Kessler contract.
Yeah. And so like, I'll just say it, just like I said, that show too, like, I don't think he's there. I think that spot is reserved for Vasily Podkolzin, like the developed version, the Nils Höglander upped, elevated version of Nils Höglander. But the elevated version of Vasily Podkolzin could play on that line and do exactly what he needed him to do.
And unfortunately, the way the business goes, if you've got a guy that you're still underpaying, you have to let that other guy go. Just like you had a Thomas Vanek, just like you had who else did we have on the fourth line there? Tyler.
We traded Vanek. We got Mott for him.
Right, but then when Mott got hot, everyone's like, "Oh, we got to have Mott." Like, no, you don't.
Right, but we traded those players right before we had to let them walk, and we're not in that spot anymore. Like, you're on a 1-year deal. You would be extremely valuable in a trade. We're making a playoff run. You're part of this team.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Phil Kessel, Phil the Thrill.
So this has been the weirdest, and yet, like, let's get to the before very quickly and then get into the now. So the before is Phil Kessel, like, he's still working out, he's doing this. Man, it wouldn't surprise me if like the Canucks, he's been a Pittsburgh guy, and now he's working out with the Abbotsford Canucks. He's probably going to get signed to like a tryout like a minor contract or whatever. Like can they do like a 10 game or whatever, those contracts?
So he's in the AHL? Yeah. What did they say? We're taking it day by day, something like that.
So he's likely going to get a couple games to try out for the Abbotsford Canucks anyway, which means jersey sales, which means forever jersey sales, because now Phil Kessel is forever a Canuck. Go figure. And if things look good, which as long as he's not ridiculously out of shape, because I mean everybody knows the whole Phil Kessel thing, but he's going to be a Canuck if he is in NHL shape, which could be a lot of things. I mean, geez, Jake Virtanen got a long run. Go figure. But like, if he's any kind of shape, as I said earlier, you have a guy that has now won 3 Stanley Cups. He doesn't even have to be in your top 9. And he brings value. He doesn't even have to play every game. He can play 1 to 2 games a series tops, and you are going to get value on Phil Kessel. And it's a story that we're all going to be giggling about because, like I said, I never thought I'd live in a world where we're actually talking about, I mean, geez, every story this season seems to be bonkers, but like Phil Kessel and the Vancouver Canucks making a Stanley Cup run. I promise you, no one had that on their bingo card.
Like how many games left here? Like
20. No, and they're in 30.
So is it like we sign Phil, and then Phil is 2024 version Matt Sundin? So we just let him sit for half the season, prorated for half of the remaining season, and then we just bring him in, and then he scores a couple of long slappers. Like
basically,
I don't know. It's hilarious. I love it. I've always loved Phil Kessel. Right? He's like a cartoon character, but like the one you like, right? You're not making fun of it. He's just like, he's almost got like this like Kuzmenko a bit aura to him, even though he's not trying to be funny on purpose. He's just like, he seems like a funny dude, right? And you want to watch him play. He's exciting, you know? I don't know what Phil skates like now. Like, can he still scoot? He used to be like an unreal skater. I just haven't watched enough Phil Kessel, including his time in Vegas, right? But
it's bizarre,
man. I don't know. Like, I saw a tweet today. I can't remember who it was, and I really, maybe it was Stanchion said it. It was great. It was like the picture of like, I think it was like Phil at the airport, right? And he shows like his bag, and it's like a bunch of mishmash shit. And then he's out on the ice, and he's like, no matching gear, blue socks, right? And he's like, you know, like Phil is out there looking out of shape in mismatched gear, and he's basically every man's beer leaguer. Like,
yeah,
and that's it. That's 100%, right? I think it was Stanchion that said it.
And he's got 3 rings to back it up, just in case you want to beak him.
Yeah, great, right? Like what a treat for all those guys down in Abbey right now, right? I mean, yeah, you're whatever. Maybe I skate better than you do now. I could score goals. Like you don't have it anymore. But man, you're Phil fucking Kessel. Like you're a couple points away from 1,000. 3 Stanley Cups, like you said, right? It's super interesting. It's like, it's fun. I think it jars things a little bit. It's a distraction almost in a good way, because even if he does, he doesn't hurt the team, right?
No,
like,
and it takes some of the seriousness away of.
I agree. It's almost like this lighten the load, and Phil like does that. I don't know how, but he does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's super weird, yeah. And I don't look, man. That's a long time away from hockey. And I don't know what kind of shape you've been keeping in. Like, I'm saying this knowing that I'm a Browns fan, and I just watched Joe Flacco do what he did.
Come on, man. Kucherov, Landeskog's done it. I mean, he's at a different...
How old were those guys, though, when they did it?
Yeah, younger.
I don't, like...
But I mean, I think if you're still in the game, though, even if you're younger, like, if you're still that long, like, you still have to be ready to go. If you're playing,
I guess, but game action is different, right? And you know what? Through all of this, right? Say he plays some games, we bring him in, they talk about signing him, and then it's like, look, you're just not in good enough shape. You know what? What the hell was the harm in looking?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, well, guys, that was fun, wasn't it? Like I said, a few Abbey jerseys get sold. Like, really?
Yeah.
We got Phil Kessel Abbotsford, Johnny Canuck jerseys, green one.
You know damn well some guy is going to buy a Canucks like skate jersey Kessel. You know it. You 100% know it. It's going to happen. You're going to see that tweet. Somebody's going to send it to the stanchion, and it's going to like, look what I saw.
Yeah, he's going to be that guy.
Yeah,
it's a weird world.
You know what? And I'm here for it.
And it's just like, I'm sitting on the couch as this is all going down, that first couple tweets, and you're like, okay, this is going to happen. This is the world we live in right now. And we have to be okay with this, whatever happens. And the way everything's gone this season with this team and the relationship, Rutherford, Talkett, like they know what they get if they get a guy that makes this team.
Right? I mean, at this point, we just have to trust them, right? I mean, all they do is build winners.
And then we haven't brought this up in a few weeks, but do you remember who's on the coaching staff and plus of the eyes in the sky?
Sorry, say again.
They're all winners. You got Adam.
Oh
Foote,
yeah.
You got Gonchar, you got the Sedins, you got Tocchet. You've got Mike Yo. There's nothing but winners going on this team.
It's finally.
It's the feel good. It's the feel good story of the season. I mean,
it goes further up that. I mean, Granato winner.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's winners dotted all over this place.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be crazy? We didn't even talk about the Leaf slapshot thing, but let's say Phil Kessel makes it, and I named our episode "The Kessel Run in 16 Parasecs." 16 wins. Like imagine we literally
Parasecs.
Whatever. I'm okay with either. Imagine
that's out nerd you. I think that's what happened.
Like there's gonna be Ted. There's gonna be Kessel Run Canucks t-shirts. Like Star Wars Kessel Run. I'm telling you, you're gonna see it, and we're all gonna be the biggest nerds for 2.5 months. It's coming, baby. I'm telling you.
I mean, this is the season, first time in I don't know how long, but I can't disagree with the wacky shit you're saying because it can happen.
Feels good. I don't know. There's just a lot of bizarreness going on. So
I love that Spider Soul. He's just updating us that he's in Abbey Costco today and no confirmed sightings in the food court and nothing in the sample stations. But I'll keep my eyes open.
So
we got a mole out there in Abbotsford. Thank goodness.
He might have gone to the Langley one, possibly. That's a good Costco, the Langley one.
Yeah, we tried to get to the Costco in Hawaii. It's supposed to be like a legendary Costco.
It's so good,
but we never made it. The two things I didn't get to do: I didn't go to the Costco and I didn't play roller hockey out there. Also says I trust Rutherford on the Kessel signing. Stanley Cup experience cheap, nothing to lose. Thought that might be true, but have to put a guy on waivers to sign him. That's a tough part, right? Like I know what who is the guy? Friedman, maybe.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right, like I think Juleson is taking that role now and then some. So if a guy's got to go, probably has to be a Friedman. I don't know who goes past that to get Phil on there if they have to, because when Susie comes back, then it's going to be another player. But yeah, it's a good point because they're going to have to bench a guy on D too. Like, what are they going to do there? Because is somebody going to take a spot away from Noah Juleson now?
Tyler Myers. You can't.
We're looking at a season, Ryan, where fucking Nils Höglander is playing on the top line and Noah Juleson has acquitted himself as a staple on the D-corps.
I'm sober right now.
On earth is happening?
I'm sober.
What on earth is happening?
Yeah, this crazy talk.
It's wacky. It's wacky.
I'm telling you. Every week we meet up and something happens, and this is where we're at this week. What's next week gonna look like?
It's bizarro world, and I'm
where are we gonna see that Demko goal by next week? Maybe.
I'm here for it.
It's bizarre. I'm assuming that you don't have top 5, and that's okay. It's been a busy week for you.
Top five.
I'm assuming you don't, because if you do, that'd be awesome.
Top five.
At least you get the graphic.
Yeah. Top. I think quickly here we can bang it out. Top 5 goats.
Billy.
Go
away! Stupid cat. I close the door. Everyone's trying to sleep. This cat's trying to break in like it's The Shining. It's not good. I'm just watching this door shake. I'm like, I'm gonna get murdered here.
You have a cat? Oh, Billy is your cat. There you go.
Billy, Billy Goat. Billy Goat.
Yeah. Top 5 goats all times. Any sport, any league.
I mean, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. These stating the obvious.
That's 1, 2.
Goats. We got to go with. Lewis Hamilton.
Oh.
Just an absolute alien for F1. That guy's doing some stuff. Tiger Woods.
Tiger.
He's already +1, I think, after the first round. He went like birdie, bogey, bogey, birdie to start his first 4 holes. Tiger Woods is a GOAT. If my childhood is complete because Tiger Woods, the rest of it got a little messy, but
just like that golf swing.
Hey, you've been seeing my videos.
I know it worked. It looks you're doing it.
They're going. Who do I got? 4 and Yuri Butsayev.
Yuri Butsayev,
former Atlanta Thrasher.
Wow. Okay. Cool. I was gonna go Boris Valabic, but whatever. Okay. So I think obviously same few as you. The big 3.
Yuri.
Probably a big 4. So I'll include Gretzky on that list.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. He was so dominant.
Dixon.
So dominant in his sport compared to any other player. I just don't think he's just the championships past leaving Edmonton, right? That's the one.
Can I take off Yuri Butsayev and make an actual one for a second?
Of course, yeah, do it.
Nolan Ryan.
Okay, yeah, Nolan Ryan.
I'm gonna send you something after the show, and
I think I may have seen it.
Every Nolan Ryan stat should blow your mind. Every single one.
Maybe it's more than a top 5 then. So
no, I take out Yuri Butsayev. That was a joke.
Okay, Nolan so Ryan. Yeah. In order, geez, I don't even know. So it's got to be Brady. It's got to be Jordan. It's got to be Gretzky. It's Jordan, Brady, Gretzky,
Messi.
No, also amazing, but that's not who I was thinking of. Maybe Serena.
Oh yes,
right, Serena.
She was. Oh yes.
Ali.
Oh yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah, but I mean, Nolan Ryan's another cat is fucking trying to get.
I'm gonna die.
Nolan Ryan, also a really good one, right? I mean, damn.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan.
Christine Sinclair. Yeah, good point, Grant. Like
Claire Hughes.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
There's a lot of great athletes.
Carl Lewis. There's a bunch, but those ones fall short. I think the first 5 or 6 of what we're naming is probably Michael on Phelps. That list. I think Michael Phelps is probably on there. Yeah, but I think you're looking at maybe those 3 in like the mainstream sport, and then you throw in some combination of Serena and Nolan Ryan and so on and so forth, right? Like it probably is less of a top 5 and more of like a top 3 or a top 4.
We should do coolest athletes next week.
Okay.
I like that. This has been a lot of fun. I know it's late for a lot of people, and if you're actually here live, thank you very much, Grant. Thanks for showing up.
Sticking with us.
It's nice to have a friend when it's just the 2 of us. Sometimes it feels lonely just the 2 of us.
Probably just go watch Toy Story after this.
Feels like we're missing someone. This was watch Toy Story, exactly. We could have a lot of fun doing that. Man, another crazy Canucks week. We're going to Family Day weekend. Canucks got a nice big game against Winnipeg on Saturday. We've earned this. As Canucks fans, we've all earned a season like this. We've gone through the hardships. We've gone through, hey man, we thought we saw the top of the mountain, and that wasn't it. But it's sure feeling like it sure feels like that story's getting written this year. I don't know. Yet to be seen. Anyway, as you all know, this is the PP1 Podcast. We're on the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you in part with DraftKings. Promo code THPN. That's the Hockey Podcast Network, but they shortened it up. THPN. Promo code THPN. Along with my good friend Ted Wong III, Mr. Deadlift himself. Man, you're just a monster out there. I'm scared for ball season. I can't wait.
Thanks. Got to get the back sorted out for that swing, right?
Oh, I'll get that elbow figured out. You're going to be hitting dingers every at bat.
That's like my batting coach.
It's the whisper. What can I say? On behalf of Ted, I'm Ryan. This is the PP1 Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. The Canucks are still at the top. Peace out.